All right, good morning. So this is Paul Roars for my econ class, and we're going to go over the CRAAP system for understanding how things work. For me specifically, just the grading sheet seems the most important because you could apply it to a number of things, of course. So the currency portion, so that's pretty good. So currency, so that part I like. So we're gonna make sure it's recent. We're not gonna use old sources if we could help it, unless the kind of research isn't done anymore for like moral reasons or something like that. And not like crazy stuff, just like tests on humans are really limited, even like, ones that aren't really harmful by standards maybe a few years ago or decades more accurately. So not borrowing like that kind of stuff. Yeah, currency is pretty good. Fictional, I don't know. What? Functional. Duh. Yeah, functional links. Yeah, make sure everything you would reference works. That would be good. Yeah, so currency is pretty straightforward. Unless there's a good reason you to use something like a historical argument. Currency would maybe be you'd want it to be less current if we're making a historical argument. Closer to people of a different times point of view. That might be a way to go. Kind of the opposite value for currency. But yeah, in general, the more recent, the better. Then relevance. Okay, so this makes sure it's pertinent to the topic. Like we wouldn't want to be talking about like I don't know, like buying bonds and then have a whole side note going over I don't know, like tax law in Canada. Our tax law in Canada video is probably really important, just probably not to the bond discussion specifically. Unless Canada's rules are so bad, you'd want to get a shelter to avoid some kind of. You know what? I'm not even gonna guess. So we're gonna move past the Canada example. But yeah, yeah, it's a good example. So not being relevant, cutting it out. So we move forward. Intended audience. So that's really important because you got to work with the assumptions of who you're talking to. It's like if I'm talking to someone who I think's gonna disagree with me, then I would make sure to go for small concessions, things where they could find flaws in their own system. That would be my direction. I wouldn't try to. Whereas if I'm speaking to the choir, I'd probably go for something that's like a lot more, galvanizing, testing out new theories, things like that. That would probably be, start with people that are sympathetic before I, deal with the wrath of outsiders. I don't know. That's just an emotional, thing. Wouldn't want to be too. No, I gotta live with me, so that's important. All right, authority. So this one, of course, is really subjective. So authorities, that's like accredited sources, which is depends who you're talking to, because um, the bias of authoring is impossible. People really can't stop cognitive dissonance or things like that. So authority is, I guess it just depends who you're working with, right? Once again, target your audience. So try to work with authorities that they would work. So if you're trying to do a internal thing, then a few outside sources, a few internal sources, a lot of your own work, that'd probably be good. Or if you were targeting, once again, someone who'd be a lot more, if you were if you were not very clever and decided to logically try to argue with someone who emotionally disagrees with you, um, which is no, we're gonna be polite. Don't do that with your time. Um, so so the authority is is what it is. Who cares? Because it just depends who you're talking to. Let's see. Then we go down to accuracy. Okay, so this part's gonna be really tricky. So accuracy, you'd have to go with, I guess, large sample sizes, like gold standard, double blind kind of things, random selection. You know, uh, actually bothering to check like the magnitude and vector of the data, trends, selection and removal of various data points or types of research. That's like a way to um, be more accurate. Um, Having the humility to what do we call it? Reference the what is it? P. Yeah. So saying that out loud and clarifying what it is, like every time you start your discussions, which was more for the layman's. I mean, that's like you'd be a what's the word? Like a filthy normalizer, bringing information out to the fucking dirty plebs How dare they? But like whatever. That's not that's neither here nor there. Where are we at? Accuracy. Oh yeah, you could mention that research has to be what do you call it? Within only 5% of it can be wrong, but only half, so 50% are actually wrong because a lot of studies can't be repeated. So there's a lot of human issues getting in the way. But we do what we can. We don't knowingly violate more than 5%. We don't honestly and knowingly violate 5%. There we go. All right, and purpose. So purpose is fantastic. For me, purpose would have to be like a Hegelian. Whatever, the German philosopher who's like, you have to discuss things with meaning. You have to discuss things in a way that sways someone's actions. You don't discuss things analytically because it's not how the world is, because the world is what people do. I mean, unless we're... No, yeah, the world is what people do. So I'm going to go with that perspective because it's more useful. So, not that I like fucking the Chinese communist, early communism, that stuff's pretty awful. But, the idea that you're going to focus on, culture and human beliefs over, being analytically certain, that would be the best way to read purpose for me, because I don't, what would be the point if you make a great systematic argument that no one will ever respond to, use, or take as value? But I guess, I mean, if you're dealing with people with like the right amount of like autism, kind of, the real high functioning systematic people, like the really systematic people, then you could probably make a pure argument like that. But if you're going for the more common man, you're going to need to put emotions at the most important part of the discussion. Yeah. So the CRAAP system, in my mind, is a ideal view of the world, but not that useful if read literally. It just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like a corporate worker, it'd be fantastic. Like a low level thinking kind of stuff, it'd be great. But once you get to like the applied human realm, its limits become kind of glaring.